Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I am well prepared, ready to go. I have been spawn camping the Kuro Games Twitter page for Wuthering Waves, and I think if I just reload, I should be seeing a drip marketing here. Do I see it yet? Oh, there we go. Right on cue 18 seconds ago. I'm a bit of a freak because yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have Denia ready on screen for us to take a look at. And boy, oh boy, this is kind of a crazy splash art. I've only had about like 5 seconds to actually register it. So why don't we go ahead and actually start breaking this bad boy down? So we got the post lament. I don't even know why I keep saying that. Post lament. Do not watch. Do not listen. Do not commit to memory. Some things are best left unknown. Quote by Denia. I'm not gonna lie, that's one of the more suspicious things that I've ever heard a playable character actually say. And if you know some of the background lore for who this unit actually is, then yeah, she is kind of breaking the mold for what a playable character is supposed to be. So let's just read a little bit more over here. Denia, a Department of Void Matter student at Star Torch Academy, has a gentle smile. Really? A gentle smile for one and all, and is liable to make witticisms. That means jokes. She makes fun of people. Though a professional slacker, she's a keen observer. The sight of smiling faces around her always warms her heart. Yeah, I don't really know about that one. So, the thing about Denia is that we basically have gotten all of the clues regarding who she is. Yes, the fact that she has been advertised so heavily in the Sagrika showcase over here, and, well, when you listen to some of the conversations that actually occur in the middle of this Resonator showcase, you can kind of see that she has some ulterior motives with the questions that she happens to be asking. And, well, you can kind of see the whole theme about the Heliotic 6, that's a hard word to pronounce, carry through in the middle of this showcase over here. Sagrika has like a little bit of like a reflection moment based off of that. And then you see her bringing it back up again. And so if you're familiar with how the Heliotic 6 actually works, there are some of the individuals that are in charge of basically taking care of the Roya tribe, as well as these Solar Skins, you know, a bit of like a deeper like leadership sort of thing. And as you all are probably familiar with, the Strider Gate, which is what separates Lahai Roy from Aleph 1, the Exo Strider, all of that goodness, is actually handled by the Solaskin, and of course, you know, in ways is managed by the Heliotic 6. So based off of that, you can kind of see Denia's asking some very, very, very interesting questions over here in this showcase. And well, when you figure out some of the other stuff that's going on, you know, where the Grand Architect, Nivora, from the Luke story quest is basically saying, hey, among all the lovely students stands a member of Fraxidus. And then you see Wuthering Waves themselves posting goofy-ass art like this, where it's like, 3, 2, 1, cheese, best friends forever. And then you see the Grand Architect, Nivora, Sagrika, and then, of course, Denia over here. They're just having a jolly good old time, aren't they? Yes, it's pretty obvious by now. Denia is a member of Fraxidus, at least at, you know, whatever point we are in the story right now. And it becomes kind of obvious that, you know, maybe there's going to be a bit of change of heart, because that's typically what occurs when these evil individuals end up becoming playable. So, yeah, that's a little bit of like the story lore reveal just regarding what we're seeing over here. I think there's a reason why she has all of these quotes, you know, talking about being mysterious, talking about not committing things to memory, because maybe that's what she's been doing with Sagrika and, you know, the rest of Star Torch Academy this entire time to, you know, hide her cover. So that's going to be, everything over here. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this splash art, because, boy, oh boy, is this a lot. So this is without a doubt probably one of the most colorful drip marketings we've ever seen. You can kind of see Denia has her own very, very, very unique weapon. I would imagine that she's probably like a rectifier or a gauntlet user based off of that. I don't really think Gauntlet, because of the fact that 2 out of the last 2 playable characters were Gauntlet users. And she almost seems to have like as many colorful vibes as like Rosia. Kind of like Rosia Pro Max over here. Took all the shitty parts of that design and just upgraded them. You can see that she kind of has like this witch aesthetic. She's like riding the broomstick. So I would imagine that maybe she's got like some aerial stuff, some flight when it comes to her combat. And yeah, I guess like Void Matter is what she ends up using to attack her enemies, because remember what we saw over here? She's a Department of Void Matter student at Star Torch Academy. I imagine that's whatever the fuck is in there. So, yeah. In the background, though, and I think this is very, very, very intentional, in the background, you can kind of see like a dark, almost like abyss. That's like her hand reaching through. That looks like Aleph 1, so it almost looks like she's trying to like grab some part of the Thernodian over here. Yeah, this looks like an Aleph 1 creature. You can see why she's so interested in the Heliotic 6 and the Strider Gate, right? It's kind of obvious what's actually happening over here. So that is just her hand. Then you see whatever she's doing over here. Bro, she looks like a vampire. Maybe that's like the goal, because I don't think characters are supposed to have canines that look that sharp, at least as far as I'm concerned. So definitely like vampire evil vibes going on over here. And this is the big one, right? This is the big thing. You might not have noticed this. Look at the color of her glove over here, and then look at the color of like the glove and the hands over here. You're gonna notice that pretty much all of the parts about her outfit are pretty much the same, but then the gloves themselves are like changing color. So maybe that means that she's gonna be one of those characters that has like 2 different forms or something like that. Maybe like one form that is based off like the blue gloves, and then the other that's based off of like the red. She could be like some sort of like unit that's very similar to Lene, who has, right, both of these different resonance modes, and maybe she just like changes color based off of those, or maybe a part of her kit is her just like changing colors and shit in the first place. Who knows? We're not exactly sure. But yeah, I would say those are kind of like the main things to point out, other than the fact that her hair is like long as hell. Like, Jesus Christ, you actually see it sort of like flowing out over here. Yeah, it looks like a bit of a mess. So underneath her, she's like on top of like a cake. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Maybe that's just like some artistic symbolism over here. And we kind of got like some musical notes, maybe something like that. You know, kind of like lighting up the way. Now, with that, we've already basically gotten the biggest clue ever for as to what role she's going to play in game. It's kind of obvious, ladies and gentlemen, because what do you see over here? Foam, bubbles, or foam is made out of bubbles. And what is this foam? It's chromatic. So basically, the word chromatic actually means highly colored, or relating to color, or color from, you know what I mean, right? Yeah, like that's what the word chromatic means. And these are colored bubbles, or like colored foam that's kind of like all popping up over here. And I don't even, maybe that's like foam as well. It kind of looks like the evil version. And my face is actually hiding one last bubble down there. They're kind of just, honestly, they're just kind of like tucked everywhere in the goddamn splash art. And wait, now that I think about it, maybe that's not void matter. That's also foam as well. Yeah, no, she just throws that shit at her enemies. So basically, if you haven't gotten the gist of what I'm saying yet based off of that explanation, don't worry, I've got just the demonstration for you. So if you've actually noticed, Wuthering Waves 3.1 added a whole new Sonata set called Chromatic Foam. And what Chromatic Foam does is, well, inflicting Fusion Burst grants fusion damage bonus, and during this time, using an outro skill grants a fusion damage bonus to the incoming resonator. If it's not kind of clear right now what's actually going on, ladies and gentlemen, Denia is probably just going to be the Fusion Burst support that is going to complete the Fusion Burst team. One thing that Kuro has done with basically all of the 3.0 sets is that they've named the set directly after the character that uses it. Pact of Neon Light Leap, Sound of True Name, Rite of Gilded Revelation, Trailblazing Star, Halo of Star. You get the gist of what's going on over here. If you don't think that Denia is going to use Chromatic Foam, and you don't think that she's a Fusion Burst character, I'm going to be honest, you might be the most skeptical person on the goddamn planet, because we've basically gotten all of the signs that that is the case. I mean, look at what is inside of her weapon. She's literally like channeling the energy of Chromatic Foam. So with that context, you know what to do when it comes to whether or not you actually want to pull her meta strength wise right off of the bat. If you want your Chisa to finally have a second team and to not be basically the most worthless character on your account, pull Denia. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't have Chisa, maybe don't think about pulling Denia. On the other hand, if you have Aemeath and Chisa and you're looking to, I don't know, play another version of her completely, Aemeath has 2 resonance modes, right? One is the Toon Rupture team, which we've already completed. You work with her with Linné and Mornier, and you have a jolly good old time with it. Basically the strongest team in the game. And the Fusion Burst mode that we've had for Aemeath has basically been completely goddamn useless, and it's basically seen absolutely no play at all, unless you have some absurdly shilled buffs to actually make it somewhat playable. So the idea over here is that Denia is likely going to complete this team and give you a completely new way to play Aemeath. And one thing I feel like Kuro Games is likely going to do is actually make it a bit of a lore-relevant team. As we all know, 3.3 is supposed to be a big sort of like climax moment. Hiyuki's drip marketing basically confirmed that completely. Where you can see the quote for Hiyuki being, "Your quest to save the one you hold dear, that I understand." And so what I'm betting is that Hiyuki is going to be involved, obviously, in the rescue of Aemeath. Sigrika and Denia are going to be involved with, you know, the opening of the Strider Gate to actually access Aleph 1 and you know, go grab our daughter back. And I feel like at some point throughout the journey, Denia's going to have maybe a bit of a change of heart. Or maybe it's intended, right, by the Grand Architect for Denia to actually betray Fraxidus, because otherwise it kind of like doesn't really make sense, right? If she just stays evil the whole time and, you know, is like all, you know, all malicious and stuff, it doesn't really make that much sense for her to like actually be playable with that perspective. Frolova has also left Fraxidus too, and that's probably one of the big reasons for why she's currently playable as well. And I do believe that the friendship between these two is actually genuine. Obviously, the Grand Architect is just a rat bastard, so we're not really going to give that dude a chance. But with her, I think she's like a legitimate person. So with that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she actually plays some sort of role in the battle against Aleph 1. Because naturally, right, I feel like we're going to get a bit of an Avengers Assemble moment with a Lahai Roy cast. Probably going to see a little bit of Luke, a little bit of Lucilla, all of that. And they'll go ahead and contribute all towards that final battle to go rescue Aemeath. And, well, wouldn't it be very appropriate if after Denia has a bit of a role to play over here, right, she ends up working on that team? Chisa obviously is going to have a bit of a role as well, cutting through some sort of dimension, right? Like, surely she's going to do it, right? Like, we've just been waiting. She's kind of like Chekhov's gun that's just been left unfired for, like, several versions. Surely she's going to do something, right, to actually make that stuff happen. And, well, then you'll have Denia, Chisa, and then the Aemeath team over here. Because who knows how different she's going to be after, you know, she does end up getting rescued from the Thenodian. So, yeah. That's kind of like my perspective over here when it comes to this character. I think we do have a lot to look forward to. And I think there's a reason why Sigrika's Resonator Showcase basically got hijacked halfway through to advertise the hell out of this unit. I think it's pretty clear what's happening. So, yeah, overall, I think you already know whether or not you actually want to pull her. If you're looking for that new Aemeath team, you're looking for somebody to make Chisa useful, go ahead, start saving, go for it. Use that double top-up bonus, use LD shop, use all of that good stuff. But if you're not, I'm gonna be real here. She might be the most goddamn skippable character in the history of the game. And one thing that's very clear about the anniversary units that we've had, at least in the past, right? Chakona was our anniversary unit in Wuthering Waves 2.3, the second half. And if you didn't feel like playing the Cardathea team, yeah, she's one of the most skippable units ever. However, I'm pretty sure everybody has this girl. And I feel like a lot of people got baited into pulling her, myself included. And some of us are just looking for a way to make those sunk costs of pulling Chisa not absolutely useless. At least that's what I would like to do. Now, I've heard there's been a bit of an update. Let's go ahead and see what's going on over here. The short has released as well. So, okay, all right, okay. You can just, all right, just get that shit out. Okay. So remember all the stuff I was saying before about chromatic foam and, yeah, the Sonata set and all of that being very obvious? Yeah, it's even more obvious now. God damn. So let's read this. Denia waves the ornate device in her hand, and bubbles burst out. The bubbles can protect one against void matter to some extent. So you remember all the stuff I was talking about before with her being involved with the journey to go fight Aleph 1? One of the big things about traveling through that space is that void matter makes your frequencies, like, leak out. Yeah, we all remember this scene over here, right? Sorry, guys. Get your tears ready, right? We all remember this scene over here. This situation where Rover's basically, you know, trying to get Aemeath back, all of that. And then one thing you notice is that all of your frequencies are just, like, leaking all over the place. And the implication is that, like, you know, Rover somewhat, like, died or something like that, right? As a result of this. So Denia seems to have that key power, that key role of being able to prevent those frequencies from actually getting destroyed. So with that in mind, remember what I said about her playing a pivotal role in the rescue of Aemeath? I think that's pretty much just completely confirmed as of now. And I think there's a reason why she was researching that practice specifically at Star Torch Academy. I think there's a reason why the Grand Architect revealed that she was going to be there. Because obviously the goals of Fraxidus and the goals of Rover do align. Right? The Grand Architect actually wants Rover to fight these Stradonians, right? They actually want them to win, and Denia looks like she's going to be an invaluable tool in actually making that part of the story happen. So with those bubbles, they look fragile and ready to pop at the slightest touch, but are capable of trapping enemies inside and sending them into a land of illusions. Okay, great. So her bubbles basically have like LSD built into them. I imagine that she's also going to have like some sort of kit that maybe is going to see enemies as well. Maybe she'll have a mechanic very similar to good old Cantarella over here. God bless her soul. What a useless fucking unit. Where, you know, Cantarella has this whole like hazy dream thing going on where she reduces their movement speed, all of that. Has the whole little like breakdown over there where, you know, they get CC'd and then she can like jolt them out of it. Maybe Denia's gonna have something similar. Very unique vibe if that is the case, and it's something that we don't actually have a lot of in Wuthering Waves, right? Crowd control isn't actually a thing that's in a lot of kits, so maybe that's how she's gonna really spice up the roster over there. Now with that out of the way, that description out of the way, let's go see these bubbles firsthand and go see what this is all about. All right, yeah, so clearly she's got a bit of an evil side to her. They're making sure to put a lot of focus on that one. And I really get the vibe of like some sort of like evil Alice in Wonderland sort of deal. If you were looking for like the evil version of Phoebe, she actually seems like the evil version of Phoebe over here. She's actually giving me those vibes, 100%. And of course, the whole vampire aesthetic. There you go. She's all looking all goofy and stuff. You know what she actually is? She's like Encore Supermax. Yeah. I think that's the way that I would describe her. She kind of just actually seems like Encore Supermax, right? She's got like the dolls and everything like that. The whole like Wonderland fantasy aesthetic. 100%. But yeah, that's what we're seeing over here. And some person said, look at the chest of evil Denia. And I don't think they mean like, they mean like this emblem over here. I do believe that is like the Fraxidus logo. I'm not entirely sure. I do believe the circles are the Fraxidus logo. Yeah, not that one, you freaks. So, yeah, there's just another confirmation over there. Overall, I think that this is one of the best planned releases that Kuro has had. People know exactly what she's going to do. It's very obvious from the Sonata sets and stuff that we have in game. I think we just gotta wait now and see just how, you know, interesting her kit actually is and whether or not you actually want to pull her. Because, like I said before, I think there's a lot of people that are going to end up skipping, but maybe they'll do something wild that makes it so we can't actually skip at all. Also, one thing I'm noticing is that I have no idea where her goddamn tacit mark is. Maybe that's her tacit mark. She just has like a really unique looking one. It's like the people holding hands. So guess we'll have to find that out when those gameplay reveals are ready to go. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.